Welcome to My Favorite Mistake. I'm Mark Graban. This is Just the Mistake, a new experiment. Today we'll hear the favorite mistake story shared in episode 1 by Kevin Harrington. He was one of the sharks on season 1 of the show Shark Tank. Kevin was the creator of the modern 30-minute infomercial, and he shared a powerful story from 30 years ago. To hear the entire episode with Kevin and his book's co-author Mark Tim, go to markgraban.com/mistake1.
Well, I'm going to go back. It was 30 years ago. I made a big mistake. Okay. I made plenty since then too, but I'll go back to one of the first big ones that I made. So I was in the Ascena TV business. We were doing about $100 million a year in business. So we built the company up nicely, had about a dozen products on television, Jack LaLanne and the Juicer and George Foreman and Tony Little and Billy Mays and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. And so every week we would do about 2 million in sales. And most of it happened over the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we didn't like to advertise on Wednesday morning when just the wife was home. It was more, weekend oriented. So I would leave on Friday and come in on Monday and expect, we're going to get our tally on sales and we're going to get that 2 million, generally, give or take that, probably 1.8 to 2 million in sales deposited in our account on Monday morning. So come in on Monday, my CFO is sitting in my office and he's like very upset. And he's like, Kevin, I don't know what to tell you, how to tell you, but the bank is not going to send us the 2 million this week. They're holding it. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're holding it in a reserve account against our credit card processing account, right? And so as we got into it, as it turned out, they actually did have a legal right to do that, at least initially. And if they felt like they didn't have enough reserve, we had a $500,000 reserve sitting there. So now that 2 million though represented my life, my business. This is 30 years ago. I was not a wealthy guy at the time. And that was my cash flow, my operating capital, my payroll for the next week, my inventory, my media. It was my existence. And so to them, they thought, let's just grab, this guy's doing 100 million. We're just going to grab 2 million, but we were out of business. So what we found out was this. We sat down with the bank. One of our products was having a big defect problem from the factory. So we would bring 10,000 pieces in, we would ship 10,000 pieces, 3,000 of them were defective. So all these calls going to the banks, what they have to do? Let's just freeze this account. So that's what they did. They grabbed all of our cash, froze the account, and put us out of business more or less. Now, at the end of the day, we ended up working ourselves through this whole mess. And what ended up happening was, it's a long story. I won't get into every detail, but we were able to force them to give us back 1.6 million of it eventually, not like a day later, unfortunately, but and let them have an extra 400,000. But this is what we did, and this is what we learned. We had 12 products running on one merchant account. If you have one little problem with one product, you're out of business. This product represented probably 3% of our sales, but 100% of our aggravation with the bank. Wow. And so what we did from there is we set up separate merchant accounts for every single product, separate businesses, separate profit and loss statements, et cetera. And we ran our business completely in these little silo kind of situations. So an amazing learning curve. We did get our money back. We did survive. We ended up building that business to 500 million eventually. But at the end of the day, we would never have been able to do it if we still ran on one merchant account. So that was a big learning curve for me.
Wow. And it's all, as always, it's good to learn from mistakes and not repeat them. And I can only imagine there was that period of trying to figure out, well, why are they holding the funds back? Is that because they were protecting against chargebacks or things that might naturally occur, or there was more than normally occurred?
Yeah. So this one item that we had was that they were shipping us a high defective rate of goods. Yeah. Now, I'm not a manufacturer. I pay good quality manufacturers to make good quality products. Little did I know, we even QC some stuff at the factory, but little did we know, because it would hit our warehouse and just go right out. Well, the first 10,000 pieces, we were, massive problems. And people get upset when you ship them something that they plug in and doesn't turn on. It's like, what's going on here?
Right.
They almost think they're being ripped off, right? We weren't trying to rip anybody off. We had a bad manufacturer that needed to tighten up his manufacturing quality assurance processes. So once we figured it all out, the bank understood that this wasn't our whole company that was in trouble. It was just this one product. We're going to stop selling that product and, et cetera. But it's something we never wanted to have to go through again.
Yeah. And it sounds like you were able to avoid that then. And that's probably a lesson you shared with others in other settings when you're mentoring and coaching other businesses.
Yeah. I don't publicly tell very many people except in forums like this.
Yeah. And Kevin, thank you for, being willing to admit that. I mean, one of the key themes here on the podcast, again, is that we all make mistakes. Even really successful people, sharks, have things they learn from in their lives. So thank you.
You bet.
To hear the entire episode with Kevin Harrington, go to markgraban.com/mistake1 or look all the way down at the bottom of the podcast feed, episode number 1. I hope you enjoyed Just the Mistake, this experiment. Hopefully it's not a mistake. I think we'll try it again. In addition to new episodes that'll be coming up with new guests. To learn more about my upcoming book on creating a culture of learning from mistakes, go to mistakesbook.com.